Hello, welcome everybody. This is the Upland Brazil AMA, very special night. We have Idan Zuckerman with us in Brazil. As you know, he came for the Blockchain Real Festival. Idan is the co-founder and co-CEO of Upland, and it's a pleasure to have him here talking to us. And our community manager and Brazilian moderator of Upland, Lucas Mucida, is also here with us. So good night, guys. How's it going?
Good night.
So go.
Thank you. Thank you, Ney, for introducing us. Today is a very special live with this very special guy here with us today, Idan. How are you doing, Idan?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun and hectic week in Brazil and enjoying every minute. So glad to be here.
That's great. So before we jump into the AMA, just some technical recommendations for you. You are watching this AMA on the Upland Brazil YouTube channel, but we are proudly offering you simultaneous translation to Portuguese. There is two professional companies assisting us with this streaming class tech experience together with Global Nexus professional interpreters. So if you want to watch this AMA in Portuguese, real-time translation, you have to access this link that we are putting on your screen right now is bit.ly dash AMA Upland Brazil. So if you guys can put it on screen, this is it. And also there is a QR code that you can scan with your mobile. And I'll be all the time on the YouTube channel. I'll put this URL as well on the chat. It's there already. You can see on Upland Brazil YouTube, there is the address URL where you should go to watch it in Portuguese. Okay, so if you don't speak English, we are taking care of you and we are offering this simultaneous translation this night. From my side, this is it. I know we already have a bunch of questions for Idan. I'll leave with you guys. Enjoy the show. Have a good night. And I'll be behind the scenes. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Nate. Lucas, can I ask the first question? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
So this is a question to Lucas Mucida. Can you show off the merch that you just got today?
Yeah, I have this. And I have a cap around here. It's a M motor cap. It's just arrived from US. It's very nice. Was a nice, but I minted this. This is good.
Nice.
Nice. This is Upland official. Right. So Idan, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's a pleasure. It's the first time that you are here with us. I think that all the Brazilian community is going to love this live today, this opportunity. So thank you. And I know that you did some other AMAs before and they were all in English. So a lot of Brazilian players, they don't know or even nothing about you. And some of them know the Upland game, but not that much about Upland company. So my first, not question, but the first thing that I would like to ask you is to give us a introduction about yourself and talk a little more about the Upland company so the Brazilian community can understand more about it, please.
Absolutely. So first of all, my name is Idan Zuckerman. I'm one out of three original co-founders for Upland. So it's me, myself, Idan Zuckerman, Dirk Luth, and Manny Honigstein, who founded the company back in late 2018, early 2019. Today, I serve together with Dirk Luth as co-CEOs of Upland. Myself, I am originally from Israel, but I live today in Silicon Valley and have been living there for the past 10 years. My background comes from having founded different companies, kind of like more in the social gaming space. And then about 4 years ago, teamed up with my co-founders around that idea of, that was just the emergence of NFTs, right? This was completely a new thing. And we look at that technology collectively, and kind of like coming from the combined spaces of both, casual gaming and also decentralized technologies. We kind of like put our minds together and we try to envision, okay, this is something big going on here with this technological innovation. What does that mean to the future of digital economies, and especially as it pertains to games and metaverses? And this was basically the birth of Upland. We were inspired, obviously, by the game Monopoly. We were also inspired by, I don't know if you know the series Stranger Things,
Yes.
with the upside down. And by the way, this is where up comes from for Upland. So again, it's that parallel world mapped to the real world, a genuine metaverse with endless possibilities. And there we are 4 years later. Definitely one of the leading Web3 metaverses, definitely the biggest in terms of landowners and diversity and inclusiveness. And we're just getting started.
That's something that I always say, we are just getting started. And I took a time to make a video just about Upland Inc. to explain people that's not just a game, it's something bigger, it's something important. So I tried to explain, but it's always nice to hear from the co-founder of Upland. So I think people, the Brazilian community here now, they have a better overview about what is Upland, and that's huge, right? Upland is, like you said, it's leader on metaverse and Web3, something that is coming, and a lot of people doesn't know about that yet, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with some questions from the Brazilian community. We have some here, and feel free to ask us any questions in the chat. Ney is gonna take a look in the chat, and if you see some good questions there, we can jump with the question here, and Idan can answer. Let's check what we have here today. First question is from Itibere. He's asking about collections. This question is, do you have any plans to change something around that subject, collections, to make it more attractive? Again, nowadays, it's more profitable to hunt treasures than complete collections. That's the question.
Okay, we're starting with a hard question right away. I love it.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Yeah. So again, first of all, I want to make a distinction. Collections and treasure hunts are two completely different features of different natures. Treasure hunt is competitive in nature, while collection may have some competitive element, but it's more kind of like it's basically you're working, in collaboration with people you trade with, etc., to complete them. There is the long-term earnings element from collections that does not exist in treasure hunts, and treasure hunts are designed in a way that, again, the more rewarding it gets, theoretically, the more people that would be interested to try to compete with it, and so kind of like it spreads out over a larger amount of people. So I would say, again, two completely different mechanics, right? Both of them may be tweaked in one way or another as we grow, especially treasure hunts, which has basically math models around it that are meant to guarantee that it kind of like rewards in lockstep with the growth of the community and the ability to basically absorb that type of a reward system. So again, to me personally, two completely different things. I'd love to hear your view about this, Lucas, like how you see those. But I would not tie one to the other necessarily.
Yeah, I think this question came from, I know that he's an old player. Back then, treasure hunter was nothing some years ago. So completing collections were the most exciting thing to do in Upland. You try to complete the hair collections, ultra hair collections, but sometimes you see like you complete a hair collection and get, I think that's what he was asking. You get like 8,000 UPX for completing this collection, and it's hard to complete a hair collections, and you get like 10, 11, 12,000 UPX. And some people can do much more than that, just treasure hunting. So the attention from a lot of people were, I mean, I
this is
don't do
exactly
treasure hunting today. I don't.
Yeah, let me jump in, Lucas. So this is exactly where it's different, because
Yeah.
the competitive nature of treasure hunts ensures that we know exactly what are the rewards that are being given out. Whereas if we kept it open-ended in collections, right? If we increased the immediate rewards you get from collections in terms of Apex rewards, every theoretical player that joins the game would be theoretical for every single collection via mechanics like, swapping and trading, which are totally legitimate, right? I'm not talking about, multi-accounts and stuff like that, right? So again, each of these different features has its own inherent mechanisms to ensure that we have at least control, right? That we don't have to take away these things because we kind of like lost control of the amount of currency that is and prizes that are being rewarded for it. And again, I'm saying when things go and when we study the economy and we see that some features have too much reward, we are going to tweak those in favor of the economy. Right? Things are not guaranteed to remain exactly the same as are.
Yeah, and probably we have much more players completing collections than treasure hunting. So
at least successfully treasure. And again, it's a very competitive feature, right? You need to be, it's not a low barrier entry type of a feature. You need to learn how to do it. You probably spend a lot of effort and time even getting good at it and being able to compete for it. As you can do it in different cities that offer different rewards, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, again, to me, I'm going back to the fact that it's two completely different features. And by the way, you can do both. You don't have to do like one or the other.
Yeah, for sure. I think it answered the question from Itivere. It's a tough one, right? It's tough.
We love tough questions.
Tough questions, sure. So next one from Hick Track. When can we autograph NFL legends? Could you explain a little bit more of how the mechanics works? And about the spiritual legends, they seem to be forgotten, so they will have any type of rule in the game yet in the future?
Yeah, so as with autographs, I think we have communicated that mechanic, and I think we have tutorials and kind of like roadmap items that explain that thoroughly. And the idea is that each of the legits are going to be able to be digitally signed by the player, and then you're going to physically see it appearing on the legit once it's signed. It would require you to replace the NFT, obviously, because again, you can't like alter an NFT once it's minted. But again, everything is done with your consent. And the way it's going to work, there are going to be basically two pathways to having legit signed. One is, these events, these games that take place based on which the mementos are minted. The metaphor is that after the game, you can wait in line and kind of like catch the players that walk out digitally to sign these legits. And then if you're lucky enough, if you're high enough in the queue, so imagine player X walks out and he signs 50 autographs. If you are one of the first 50 in the queue, you're going to be able to, you're going to get that autograph done. That's the first pathway. And the second pathway, we're going to have some player ambassadors that have their own residence in Upland and their own player stores in Upland. And from time to time, they would hold digital signing events where players are going to be able to travel to their homes and get their items autographed as well. Again, still on the roadmap, still coming. The next immediate item on the roadmap that's going to be released is going to be about collections, which is long promised and going to be delivered very, very, very soon.
Nice collection. I'm waiting for collections. And about the spiritual legends, do you have any plans?
Yeah, so again, we don't have any announced plans. Nothing I can announce today about spirit legits. And again, they are, as we explained, collectibles that are legits. And they were basically delivered together with Halloween decoration ornaments that we had last year. There are no announcements as it relates to this specific type of legits.
Nice. Yeah, I have some. They are there. I think we can use them again.
I can say though that we absolutely do have very short-term plans to be able to trade these legits via meta ventures. So nice. That's going to come pretty soon.
Cool. So the next question is also a tough one. It's 2 questions in one, but let's go. It's from Lindgren. He's saying, each Upland property has its own unique value, whether it's your grandma's house or a famous museum. That is NFTs, one of a kind of the real world. In my view, it is the greatest idea of Upland. First question, wouldn't these new constructions interfere negatively on the real value of the property, since we could see a farmhouse in a Manhattan Fifth Avenue? And question 2, I repeat that after. There will be another interface with real world besides the Street View button, how to navigate on a more detailed map that conveys this reality.
Yeah, great couple of questions, and definitely not the first time we've been asked that. And let's start kind of like with the basis. We see Upland as a fork of the real world, not necessarily a full replica of the real world. If it was just about, hey, you can only build what's in the real world, I think that takes away a bit of the opportunity and creativity of what can be done to rebuild the world, right? And not necessarily make it one-to-one. We have decided strategically that there are going to be some things that make it resemble. Obviously, the map itself reflects the real world, but things like monument, that's also was important for us to have like these landmarks, so very identifiable and iconic pieces of the city still kind of like maintained to the real world. And it was important for us to offer still pathways for people to, if they want to replicate what's in the real world. And that's one of the pathways to UGC, user-generated buildings that are going to be enabled for submission if somebody does want to mimic the real world. Now, to the question of, does that change the value? It's a very important question about, okay, we're talking about true ownership. And what is true ownership? Like, do you have true ownership if you have so many restrictions that you can only do what's in the real world, and as opposed to do whatever you want with your own properties? And I think this is a segue to one very important, the governance. So the way that we chose was, okay, you have true ownership, you can do what you want in the properties you own, but we also allow, or at least will allow, neighborhoods as communities to decide what can or cannot be built in terms of structures. We do not have that yet, but it's going to be one of the things that are introduced with community voting. So a community can get together and decide, you know what, we don't want farmhouses, we don't want ranch houses, we don't want maybe micro houses, or we don't want factories, or we can only allow, skyscrapers in our neighborhood. That is going to be something in the future that communities are going to be able to vote on. So that way, you still have true ownership, but you're going to know, okay, I'm going to walk into this community, I'm going to kind of like buy property in that community. I also know what are the restrictions, and I can make an informed decision. Do I want to be part of that or not? Or do I want to join it and also help influence how this community shapes up together? So again, this is the path that we've chosen. I think it's a path that resonates with a lot of players. Obviously, not everybody will agree on that specific route, but we truly believe that this is one of the better routes to take.
Yes, think about this truly ownership. That's amazing, because if you're stuck with something in the real world, so you can do whatever you want, so it's not true ownership, right?
Yeah. And what was the second part of the question, Lucas?
Yeah, he's concerned about the real world.
So
we just have the Street View button.
It's a good point. So again, Upland is in its infancy. It's in its very early stages. One thing, for example, that we are constantly looking at is, for example, topography, right? Can we at some point import the kind of like, the difference in kind of like the height level in the terrain, right? These are things that are theoretically potentially can happen, right? Like, again, they are going to, form some challenges. But I'm sure that with time, we're going to be able to solve them and offer experiences that are more kind of like resemble more and more, at least like the feel of the real world, not necessarily what's built on it, but there are some, wherever you go to Rio, right? What is Rio without the iconic mountains, right? That surround it, right? So it's an important piece of this. And I think until we get there, I think there's also opportunity for third-party developers to hop in and kind of like build layers on top of Upland as well. But definitely, these are things that are on our minds.
Nice. What the topography is something really important. Sometimes I buy some properties that if I knew before that they are in a high position, I would buy it faster because I didn't know where they are in the real world. So that would be great too. I never thought about that. That's good to it's a good good stuff to put on Upland, right? I like.
I mean, you can imagine the equivalent in Google Earth as a third-party service, right? So again, I think that's part of the reason why third-party developer tools are so important for us to launch and get out there, because it now basically empowers anybody who wants to cast their own value to do so. And this is the true spirit, the most exciting and interesting part of the concept of play to earn. It's not play to earn, it's create to earn, right? It's like use your talents to create value that people care about. And now that's the really interesting opportunity of how you earn in the metaverse.
Yes, that's something that I could easily see on Blockchain Rio Festival, because every kind of idea there, it could come together with Upland. They connect with each other very easily in Web3 and this new world that's coming. So it's gonna be easy, or not easy, but it's gonna be faster to put your own idea on Upland and make it run. It's like a real investment or a real
it will definitely allow for a lot more ideas being introduced to the metaverse, as opposed to just the ideas that we as a team in Upland Me Inc. are able to deliver and put out. So absolutely, I see it speeding things up significantly.
Nice. That's why I love Upland. Next question from Guerra. We know Upland has a roadmap, but how would you like or intend to see Upland 5 years from now in terms of functionality, immersion of people, and in a metaverse, and the form that buy and sell properties are doing today? Like, it's gonna be always like that?
Yeah. So again, my keynote talk in Blockchain Rio was exactly about that. Basically, it's about the fact that Upland is turning to be a layer 1 metaverse. And again, we see Upland as the infrastructure, as the kind of like the platform that gives Web3 metaverse entrepreneurs everything they need in order to create these experiences. It's about the economic foundation. It's about the liquidity. It's about regulatory compliance as a service. It's about governance as a service. It's about the tools, the dev tools, the ability to easily create and trade NFTs without having to know anything about smart contracts or blockchain, right? All of this together will be delivered as value for developers, and this will cause Upland to become a very rich platform that hosts a very large amount of different types of experiences. Some of them will be immersive. Some of them will be not. And by the way, when I say immersive, it doesn't have to be 3D immersive, right? If somebody runs a fleet of semi-trailer trucks to deliver cargo between cities, and all they do is check into the app to kind of like check out their delivery orders and plan their optimal routes and whatever, make deals with their customers, that is immersion. You're opening your mobile app. You're not in 3D, but in your mind, you are that manager of a delivery company, and it's part of both the fun and part of the way of how you help create and cast value in the metaverse, and that is true immersion. It doesn't have to be 3D. Having said that, there are going to be a lot of 3D experiences, right? We are, players are already seen some of the things like car racing experiences. Again, in its infancy, we announced our partnership with the Mangueira Samba School, right? That's going to have its own kind of like immersive experience in 3D that's going to be delivered via third-party tools. There are going to be a lot of other types of experiences and games that tie in. So again, 5 years from now, I see a thriving ecosystem with Upland being in its kind of like core infrastructure layer. Trading properties is still going to be a thing because you build a world of opportunity. Land is part of it. It's part of the factors that allow entrepreneurs to be creative and to be productive. You need land, you need the space, you need virtual communities. So there's always going to be at the heart of it. It's like asking, can you imagine the real world without real estate? No, because you have to have the space, right? So it will always be an integral part of that infrastructure layer, which is Upland.
Sure. And you said something really interesting because I think a lot of people misunderstand the concept of metaverse. They think in metaverse just with a VR glass, and it's not just that. It's part of the metaverse, but it's not just that, right? Like NFT.
I think it's going to be a huge part. VR is going to be a huge part of the metaverse, 5-10 years from now, when the headsets are going to be easy to use and not cause you nausea. And until then, there's a lot of, sure. And until then, there's a lot of other opportunities to be immersed. Listen, we've been playing games, all of us. I mean, I'm older, so I've been playing games since the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And back then, we were still immersed in the games. There was no such thing as a 3D, or it was like really, really crappy. But we were still immersed and having fun. So that doesn't change. Again, immersion is in your mind, not in your VR set.
Sure. That's nice. And another question, Zarina. She's asking if players are going to be able to vote and how to use the community pool funds, not just the Upland fund.
That's a great question that oftentimes is misunderstood. And again, if you look at 99.9999%, if not 100% of every digital world and game, right? It's all centralized decision made by the operator, right? It's never, again, we built Upland differently. We built it in a way we always wanted to maintain the pathway for eventually for the community to take over the governance as one potential outcome of where Upland evolves. So we've put in place the mechanisms that would allow us to progress towards that future potentially. So we're not there yet, but we're putting up these mechanisms. And one of these mechanisms is the community pool. And by the way, this is one important thing, part of the reason why we are kind of like endorsing for the upcoming vote about how to fund the operator, because we're setting up that ecosystem that would allow that future to happen, where the community does actually have governance options over the community pool of how to use it, right? And that first step is being able to compensate because in whatever future, right? Let's imagine a future where the community does own the community pool, right? The community as a body cannot operate Upland. Somebody qualified needs to do that. They need to have developers that keep kind of like, they need to maintain the backend systems. They need to introduce new features. They need to keep growing the ecosystem. They need to invest in marketing. We need to recruit new players, right? You need to maintain everything. All of that requires money. So again, in a future where the community does have governance over the community pool, we need to be able to compensate the operator. And to do how you do that with Apex basically, because Apex can be converted to real world value, right? So again, this is the way we see things. Again, rather than thinking about, hey, today the community doesn't own the community pools. Of course, right. But we are trying to imagine a future together where that is a potential outcome. So let's take the steps together, right? Instead of just saying, hey, we decide everything and that's it. Basically, you don't have a say, just play the game or be a part of the metaverse. We want to slowly take steps towards that imaginable future. Whether or not it will materialize, my hopes are that it absolutely will.
Okay, nice. That's smart. It has to be step by step. It's not a simple question to solve, right? It has to be. So nice from Upland. This is a smart decision. And they are going to have a great future with this decentralized thing, I think. It's awesome. Yeah. And next question from Bigodex. This is a good one. I think the community from Brazil are willing to know the answer. Idan, in relation to players who use bots to buy properties in less than 5 seconds, preventing honest players from being competitive in the secondary market and even in trading tournaments, since robots buy the best opportunities without any difficulty. Does the Upland intend to create barriers to this behavior?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. That's the
very short answer.
Very short. Yes. So yes, you're working on something, right, to prevent bots. Yes. So that's it, Brazil. We are chasing the bots.
We are great. Again, listen, Upland is a learning experience for us too. There are things that we could not have imagined when we developed, new features. And we are always, at the very minimum, attuned to the community sentiment. And we try to react as fast as possible. Not a lot of, oftentimes the perception may be that it's not fast enough. But trust us, it is well within our favor to make things tougher for bots and easier for real players. We are perfectly aligned with the community, with the interests here.
Yeah, I know that. It's awesome. I think Upland is going to get them out of the game, or at least very, very harder to bots to work there. It's a process. It's not. I came from the computer science. It's not easy. It's not just a button that you put there and it's done. It's
correct. And the thing is, you want to do it while still maintaining a good user experience for people who are not bots, right? It's easy to solve, but it's kind of like these scenarios where it may be the operation succeeded and the patient died, right? So if you manage to kick out all bots, but then no human is interested in playing the game because it doesn't feel good and it's not fun, then that's also a problem. So we need to do it in a thought out way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Next question, Daily German. Has the opening of new cities always been associated with some kind of financial partnership with Upland? No, right?
Yeah, so again, we've always communicated that opening new cities would come either one of two ways. Either it comes from economic pressure and the need to release either new affordable properties for new players or just properties in locales that are sold out. And then the other one is when we have partnerships that we either want to announce and launch or advance to kind of like the next level. So I think we've been pretty consistent up until now with that. Again, as part of our mission, we curate the supply and demand in Upland. Hopefully, again, that's one of the things we want to delegate to a third party to decide, either voted on by the community or like an independent third party, because again, we don't have interest to manage the macroeconomic elements in Upland. The economy, again, is the notion of a decentralized economy at the end of the day in an open economy. And by the way, that's why blockchain is so important here, is that you want the participants in the economy to trust the economy. Right? It needs to be transparent, right? You need to not be able to take your assets away, right? You need to trust the people that are making the decisions, because an economy that's trusted by its participant is going to be a healthy economy. Whereas an economy that kind of like is not, may have a bad future in there. So yes, we try to do, I definitely think that if you think about it comparatively, and when you compare Upland to other metaverses, ecosystem games, etc., I think we have a very solid economic foundation. Even if it's not perfect, I think it's still way ahead of a lot of other alternative platforms.
Yeah, I can be sure about that. The Upland economy is way better than other things that I've seen so far. It's way better. And the new way of releasing cities and this only three FSAs per player, this is going to solve a lot of problems. I think the too much demand or too low, it's gonna be more. You're gonna have more control about that. So I feel part of the city and more supply for beginners with this only 3 FSAs per player. It was amazing. I think that's gonna be very good for the future of the game. So
yeah,
we're gonna have supply.
we're going to have some more mechanics that we're going to introduce to kind of like make that a bit a better experience when opening new cities. So stay tuned. Again, we're going to deliver constant improvements to the process.
Cool. Next one about economy, also from Nobre 24 in English, but Nobre 24. Are there any predictions of increasing the 14.7% yields to something even higher this year?
So again, I know this is not what people want to hear, but if I was for, again, first of all, we decide this on a kind of like a quarterly basis based on what we see is happening with the economy. Mm-hmm. If I were forced to predict where the earnings will go, I would predict it will go down, not up. Okay, so I never want to set the expectation, right? So subsidy incentives are very important to kickstart an economy, right? They are not sustainable in the very long run. You can't create value out of thin air without putting the economy at risk. And that's why my expectation is that over time, the earnings will go down while there are going to be new opportunities to earn in Upland by creating value, by competing, by kind of like having services. Be an Uber driver in Upland, right? Maybe that's the way you do better earnings. Again, so just to set expectations, I really want everybody to take that to heart, right? The expectation in the long term is that earnings will go down, not up.
Yeah, but as I said, on the other hand, we have much more opportunities to raise some more UPEX in a lot of other ways. So you don't need only the yields. You don't.
Exactly. Be creative, right? Like get in touch, even if you don't know how to develop. Maybe your friend in the community does, and maybe you have a great idea, or you have a great assets that you can kind of like put together with the developer talent. Or it doesn't have to be a developer. Use a meta venture, right? Apply for manufacturing. Think about a cool outdoor collection you can launch in Upland, and go for it, right? Like these are the interesting things, right? Passive income is great. Who doesn't like passive income, right? But we are trying to build a great economic foundation in Upland, not just like a ever-giving passive income stream, which is, again, not sustainable in the very long run.
Yeah, that's right. And if with these other opportunities to make more UPEX, you can buy more properties. And even if the passive income is lower, you can get more money from that, because you have more properties. And also I have a cousin that I can't make 3D models. I don't know how to create them, but I have a cousin.
Me neither.
that he knows how to do that. And we can go together. He doesn't play Upland, but he doesn't need to. He can create for me, and we play in the game, and we split the earnings. It's a real
absolutely
real
but, and more than that, like if you are to do that, don't just think about producing things and selling them. Think about for a second, what do people want? What kind of rarity can find it, right? How can I enhance it maybe with some kind of experience or a game that ties to it? How can I create a community around those? I mean, think about it. Everything you manufacture in Upland is NFTs. But unlike some of these other projects that are just JPEGs, which give you a ticket to a community, here they actually have utility, and they can be interconnected to local communities in Upland already. So there's a lot of opportunity here to be really innovative, right? I think to me, like the one of the high five moments I'm imagining for the future is when the first super successful NFT collection is launched in Upland, but that has like cool utility and cool experiences. And it's not just like images on Ethereum, right? And Upland will give you all the tools to do that. And I think it's really hard to imagine until you see it happen for the first time. But the first team that gets it done right, there's a lot of opportunity here to create a lot of value.
That's for sure. You have a lot of opportunities here. You just have to be creative and take a look in the community and check what they want to have, and make it. It's possible. Right? And we have a question in the chat. Na Princess is asking what Idan thinks about Brazil. What are the thoughts about the Upland booth in Rio? Yeah.
Amazing. So first of all, up until last March, I've never been in Brazil. So like the first time I came here was, to meet Ney and basically to establish our development team in Brazil. I don't know if people, if you're aware or not, but we do have also a development team working in Brazil. And then this week was my first time in Rio, and absolutely amazed by the city. Really, I love it. Love at first sight. Not just the city itself, but the people and the hospitality was amazing. The conference was amazing. The booth was incredible. I think it drew a lot of interest. It was always packed. Like we had, bigger booths next to us, all deserted, and Upland booth was always packed with excitement. But to me, the most exciting takeaway was seeing our Upland player ambassadors be at the booth and endorse Upland and explain it to people who got interested in the game. That was the most exciting moment for me. Like just realizing what is the power of this community, how it organically feels when a real player, passionate player, stands there and explains to a fellow prospect player, why they should bother and onboard. I think really the power of Upland is its community. And again, it just shows itself in Brazil as good as any place in the world.
Yeah, I heard a lot there. People asking, "Oh, those guys, they don't work for Upland." No, they are just players explaining the game. Whoa, really, really? That was awesome. I saw
Absolutely
shiny stars in the eyes of every player there. Nobre and Guerra, Wagner, Ivan, those guys are like on their foots for hours.
Oh yeah, I mean the amount of effort the guys put. Like I was humbled by this, right? Like seeing to what extent players are willing to make the effort to collectively increase the value of everybody participating by explaining it to new players. So absolutely kudos to those people. Absolutely, I was really amazed with this.
That was awesome. And another question from the chat, David Raymond, when São Paulo when São Paulo is going to be released in Upland? I think we have to have a very big place for São Paulo because São Paulo is big. But when São Paulo?
I'm sure it's gonna. I have zero doubts that it will launch in due time. We obviously can't say when. I can say again, we have a lot of wonderful partnerships cooking in Brazil that we can't obviously announce yet before they are made official. But I see a bright future for the development of Brazil.
Me too. And another question here from Vini. Is there any short, medium term forecast for the terminals, bus, trains, planes, to have specific buildings for each one, and for players who own the terminals to receive a percentage of amount spent on trips of those who use the terminal?
Yes, it is definitely one thing on our roadmap that we haven't gotten to execute yet. But there is going to be a plan that again, I can't speak to the exact details, both as it relates to how those properties can be developed, and also to the plan of how basically people can enjoy revenues from travel. But again, nothing I can unfortunately announce today.
Yeah, for sure. And about this question, I have one. When are we going to have ships? I have a marina.
Yeah, again, it's hard to say. Again, you look at Upland, right? You see all the ways it can develop, all the different paths that we are. Today we are a much bigger team than we were a year ago, but still everything has to be kind of like planned and implemented. Are you asking me, are there going to be ships in Upland? Absolutely 100% yes. If you ask me when they would be there, I can't tell at this point.
I was imagining like.
And by the way, also aircraft. Again, we have the mechanics for transportation. We have the mechanics for manufacturing, right? So it's going to be easier for us to kind of like connect those dots and introduce new forms. But absolutely, definitely on our roadmap.
Oh, nice. And I was asking because maybe a trip from Europe to US, it's cheaper in ships but longer.
It will take a while. It has to take time for sure.
That would be nice. And another question from Oviedo: when will Upland vehicles be released for trade or sale? Do you know that?
Soon, very soon. Again, this is just like there's a sequence of development of deployment of features, right? And again, the flip side of we could have waited until everything is there, including trading, including odometer readings, including, right? But then we wouldn't have delivered the existing functionality as soon. So trading is going to come very, very soon of any manufactured item, right? Whether it's out of the core or cars. So please hold tight. We're really making huge efforts to have all of these things delivered.
And related to that, I have also a question. Some legends or some NFTs that we buy in Upland, sometimes we just spend the UPX and our net worth is not. You lose the value in net worth, like cars. When you buy a car, you lose the UPX and it doesn't count on our net worth. Is it going to be always like that, or no?
Yeah, we've been asked a lot that question, and my answer is always the same because it's a difficult question to answer. The definition of net worth ever since day one of Upland has been always your combined UPX balance with property value. That has been always the definition of net worth, and that has not changed. We do not have explicit plans to change it in the short term. It does not mean that it will not change in the future. There are really some that come out of that decision, right? And you can also equate it like in real life, right? When you buy a commodity in real life, does that consider like a part of your net worth? The line is drawn somewhere. I don't know. Maybe when you buy a car, again, it's not a trivial question to ask, and it is something that has implications once changed. So if and when we change that, it will be very, very carefully in a very measured way.
Okay, got it. And this next one is really good. Roberto Gomes asking, can NFL or soccer stadiums be used for sport broadcasting?
Well, do you have the rights to broadcast sports? If you do, contact us. We'll be happy to talk.
That's the problem. Right?
Yeah, that's a very, again, obviously, if and when we have access to sports broadcasting rights, yeah, that could be an incredible option. These are things that usually are very, very hard to get, very expensive, and are usually owned by very traditional bodies, right? So again, can it be in the future? Sure. Can it be done from stadiums? Maybe. Yeah, if and when we get there. But again, if we're talking about just regular, but what if somebody decides to stream their amateur tournament that they play in a place, right? So yeah, absolutely. If you can set up a streaming equipment and maybe you want to build that soccer field in Upland and, broadcast it live in the metaverse, yeah, why not? You're going to have all the tools you need to do that.
That's awesome. Another question from the chat here, Anderson Guerra. Way before the hype of some play-to-earn games, Upland has decided to not list UPX. Will it continue, or will we have another token that will be listed?
Right, couple of questions there. So again, we've answered that question a lot of times. The fact that UPX is not tradable has basically a couple of reasons why. The primary one is the fact that we wanted to maintain regulatory compliance, especially in the US, but also in the rest of the world. And by doing that, by keeping UPX purely a utility token, that allowed us to legally be able to offer players the option to sell NFTs directly for fiat, for US dollars, for example. Right, and that also allowed us to be in places like the App Store and Google Play Store, and to run ads on Facebook and Instagram, and places that, again, just because it is perfectly legal and perfectly safe and in full compliance with regulation. So that was a huge advantage for us, and that promoted us the option and the pathway for mass adoption. Right, Upland has this secret power where it's able to draw masses in that very easily onboard, right? Both from discoverability standpoint, but also from the fact that, hey, I can easily put fiat in and out in the system. Very easy, very frictionless, right? So that's a very powerful tool. And we knew we needed that in order to try to achieve mass adoption. The other thing, I wouldn't even say it's a byproduct, but it's a very important thing, right? The fact that you can't trade Apex in outside markets keeps the speculators away from Apex. It is impossible to speculate on Apex, right? Maybe you can speculate on properties, but it's impossible to speculate on the currency. So that means that everybody that holds Apex has some kind of an interest in actually participating in the metaverse. And I think that's a big important thing, right? And we've seen that with the bear. Again, when things were hyped, our players complained, hey, why can't we trade it? You know, why isn't Apex as hyped as some other currencies? But unfortunately, we also witnessed what is the flip side of that. And when there's a bear market, economies that have tradable tokens are exposed to speculation, and that can create crashes, as we see with a lot of other projects today. Again, we truly believe slow and steady, and have people that are excited about the system as much as possible, participate in the ecosystem. And I think we see the byproduct today is that Upland's economy is still strong. You look at other Web3 economies, they have suffered a lot in the past year, or at least the past 4 or 5 months, whereas Upland comparatively is doing really well. So that's the upside of the story.
Yeah, and in my opinion, one of the hardest things to learn in Upland is the correct price to put in a property. Imagine with a fluctuation with Apex, it would be a mess to
absolutely
sell a property.
Yeah, it's a great point, Lucas.
Yeah, it would be totally a mess. But yeah, I love the way the Apex is today, and keep that, please. And quick question I forgot here from Lynn Green. When are you going to have a dark mode in Upland? Do you?
one of the most importantly requested features. Oh man, we have some people in the team that are huge proponents. I get that asked internally all the time. Yeah. Some of our devs and other people in the company, they constantly push, hey, we want dark mode as well, right? To deliver that to the community. I don't have an answer. Unfortunately, but definitely something that we are well aware that is, one of the most requested features in Upland.
Yeah, it would be nice. As a developer, I love dark mode.
I use dark mode as well, to be honest.
So yeah, it would be nice, but let's see. Some other questions here from the chat. Chico, would have any possibility to include in our properties some information about the place, neighborhood, nearby attractions, maybe images, the place linked to the geolocation to add value to the place? It was a third developer opportunity, right?
Yeah, I love it. You know how to answer these questions. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. We as a player could make this not easily because it's something to develop, but
had a lot of cool things that they did with Chrome extensions, for example.
Chrome, nice.
Yeah, so things could be, again, you couple that with developer tools that would also allow you to, I don't know, maybe you want to charge subscription services in Apex from anybody who uses it, right? All of this is going to be possible.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think about a lot of things, information that we can put in the card of the property to bring more value. So
property card 2.0, maybe. that's the name of the app.
Yeah, and fortunately, another question for Toon. The KYC process takes a while and it's complicated. Any plans to improve it? The know your client process.
Yeah. So again, this is something that we get as a service. So we don't have a team that does KYC. We rely on a third party to do that. So it is not. Again, it would be irresponsible for me to say yes, we can improve it where it's not even under my authority. Can we look for better KYC services? yes, potentially down the road. I would say that KYC is a tricky thing. Like it's one of these things that works really, really well 95% of the cases, but then 5% of the cases it doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard from
But
some.
I think like if somebody doesn't feel that they're not getting past KYC at all, and they feel stuck, please reach out to our support team, and we will connect together with that provider and make sure that we resolve this. Again, to me, it's like there's always a pathway for a resolution when there's a real human behind the account.
Yes, I also always say to people that got stuck with the KYC to look at the spam in the Gmail or something like that, because sometimes the TILA asks for some more information about some documents, but it goes to spam. So sometimes you can find it your way there.
Yeah, I can imagine how Google or Gmail can kind of like, if they see an email, hey, I need your driver license, can you send it to me? How we can put it at them? Probably not the best idea to deliver to.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And another question, Braga, why limit to just 2 FSA sales per week and not at least 3 or 4?
Well,
why this number?
First of all, I think you answered it yourself, Lucas, earlier. Again, why 2 or not 4? You can ask this question either way, right? If it was 4, you could have asked why not 2. Why are we limiting in the first place? Is because, again, FSA is a restriction. It's an interference in the economy that we do because we feel there's an opportunity to help new players on board, and the collective benefit of the economy is worth the restriction we put in place. But we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to overdo it to the point where it gets exploited. So we're trying to find the right balance of how to keep that restriction in place and that interference with the economy while still achieving what it was meant to do. So again, sorry if it's not a lot of news, but I hope it explains the way we think about it.
Yeah, I always try to say, if you want to sell more, try to find the non-FSA property. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive, but at least you can sell them, so you can make profit. So try to buy them also, not just the FSAs. And another one, net meal. Will we be able to buy Spark with Apex at some point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have any information on that, unfortunately.
I would like, but we can treasure hunt them by this time. So we are gonna use Apex to find them. It's kind of buying Sparks with Apex.
You are definitely going to be able to rent Spark with Apex. And I think some community tools already allow that. And especially with third-party developer tools, they're going to get better and better. So definitely there's going to be a way for you to pay Apex and get building resources. So that's definitely a yes.
Yes, got it. Another question, Rafael Gomes. Recently, you launched Porto Stadium. Will you release the Maracanã Stadium to buy? Because I think the areas around will worth more. So
I would think there's a high likelihood that Maracanã, for example, is not immediately available for purchase. Again, stadiums offer potential partnership opportunities with the brands that participate there. You've seen that with the NFL Player Association. You've seen that with FC Porto. So my expectation is that it's not going to be available necessarily to purchase.
Nice. Yeah. Stadiums are great. So keep looking at the nearby properties. Maybe in the future the stadium is there and you have it already. Right. It's easy to buy now before the announce of any type of stadiums. And we have 2 more questions, Idan. One from Chico. Yes. I wanted to thank the entire Upland team for the excellent work, and also Musida, thanks. It's great to be part of the project like this, and a project like this and see so many possibles ahead? It's not a question, just a congratulations for you and the team.
All right. I
Nice.
really like to thank everybody, first of all, that are tuned in and listening to this. Thank you for your time. And really, we are in love with our community. I think it's the best Web3 community around. It's literally.
Me too. I think that Upland is the best community and it's the strongest base. Yeah, everything that I have today in Upland was because of contacts and partnerships and community with people, talking with people. If I was trying to play it alone, I wouldn't be even, I would be just a Uplander for a year, entire year. Upland is just about community. It's incredible. And the last question, Felipe Kovacs and Ney Neto. Some people are trying to find value for the Ethereum NFTs. Do you think they will be able to decorate their houses in Upland with VFriends and other NFTs?
You know what, I'm laughing because I met somebody today that showed me a VFriend NFT, and I thought just the name was the funniest thing. Like VFriend, I don't know, and it's something about it. Yeah. So again, yes, NFT portal, guys. You probably heard about it. It's coming. It's coming. We're gonna see the first deployment definitely in 2022. The first opportunities at the beginning to export NFTs out, but after that also to import NFTs in. So absolutely happening.
I can't. No, that's amazing. I was. Oh my God, I don't know. I don't have the words right now. But this portal.
But that's not new, Lucas. We've spoken about it in Genesis Week.
Yeah, but I mean, this portal is something that I practically only saw in Upland right now, and it's the basics of blockchain and metaverse. The opportunity to
interoperate,
interoperate the NFTs, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
We love innovation. Innovation is really in our DNA. So expect a lot of cool stuff and new stuff happening in Upland.
Nice. And I think that's it. We had a lot of questions, good questions here, and I hope that the Brazilian community is more aware about what's coming. And I mean, Upland is great. It's for me is the best company and game around there about Web3 and metaverse, and we keep going. We are just babies right now. We are doing some steps to get bigger, and the future is something bright for Upland, I think. Right?
Well said, my brother, and thank you for all the support and the job that you're doing with the community in Brazil. It's amazing. So really thank you, and thanks again for everybody tuning in. It's always a pleasure taking your questions and kind of like chatting with the community indirectly, but it's also good.
It's immersive. So thank you, guys. See you in the next AMA.
Hey!